First up, judges getting the power to force criminals to attend their sentencing for their crimes. This is in England and Wales, facing 2 years behind bars if they don't agree to appear. Wouldn't have worked in the Lucy Letby case. This is the one that really brought this to mind because she was going to get a whole life tariff anyway. Is this law needed, and will it actually mean that more criminals will actually appear for their sentencing?
I don't think it's needed, Julia, at all. I think it's pretty much an irrelevance in the scheme of a criminal justice system which is on the brink of collapse. And I think the spectre of defendants being dragged into court by force is unattractive and contrary to the integrity of our criminal justice process.
Wait, but what's unattractive about it? I don't have a problem with it. It's not. We're not talking about a suspect, and we're talking about someone convicted of those crimes.
Well, so be it. They may be convicted, but I don't think in a civilised society it's appropriate for a person to be physically dragged before a court and restrained.
Well, hold on a minute. Wait, if they refused to go back to prison, they would be physically dragged back to prison. They would be restrained.
Well, that's not done in the face of the public.
Oh, no. But look, we don't have cameras in courts. We wouldn't be seeing that anyway. But what's wrong with that?
No, well, it's not a question of cameras, Julia, but a courtroom is a place where open justice is conducted. Yeah. It's very often packed with distressed people from all perspectives. Yeah. What matters in terms of justice is the sentence that's passed, not the show that's put on.
But there is also a process where people are seen to get justice, and that's very important. For instance, if we're going to have people in open court, the victims or the families of victims, as we saw in the Lucy Letby case, speaking about the impact of Lucy Letby's crimes on them when their children were murdered by her, when those who living with the brain damaged child from attempted murder. If that's happening in open court and they are showing their distress, many hard-bitten court reporters brought to tears by what they had to say in their statements, why are we unable to cope with seeing a cold-blooded serial killer being dragged kicking and screaming into the court?
Well, first of all, when victims read and give their impact witness statements, that's for the purpose of allowing those who are subject to such terrible crimes to have the therapeutic process of expressing their feelings and their sadness. But it's not a question of what we can bear. I just strongly do not agree that our criminal justice process should involve the forcible compulsion in principle and in the public eye of people being restrained and subject to violence in a courtroom. They are requiring the violence. They've got every option.
God, we're going to so disagree on that, Jeremy. I'm wondering where you are, though, on this rogue police officer. I mean, they use this term, rogue police officers, being sacked on the spot. Wayne Couzens, David Carrott, people who committed heinous crimes, rape, murder. But basically, if you committed gross misconduct, if you're convicted of a serious crime, or indeed one would say even any crime, you shouldn't be a police officer. You should be sacked on the spot. As it is, we've seen police officers, including police chiefs like Sir Mark Rowley of the Met Police, having to take months and months and months long processes, tribunals to get rid of these people. Do you welcome the announcement today that basically they can be got rid of straight away?
Absolutely. I mean, the farce of the police disciplinary procedure over the last few decades is something that has deeply troubled me. I mean, it's taken months, years, decades for police officers who are obviously guilty of serious misconduct to be dealt with. So I very much welcome this, and it's been a long time in coming.
Let's also talk about the Lucy Letby case in more detail in terms of the public inquiry. It was announced within about, half an hour of her being those verdicts for her, the murder and attempted murder of babies were announced a couple of weeks ago, that the government would hold a public inquiry. They said specifically it would not be statutory because they said that would be a longer process. They wanted to learn lessons sooner. Now they've given in to basically not just public demand, but also demand from curiously from the families, the victims, that they're going to have a statutory inquiry led by a judge who will be able to compel witnesses to give evidence under oath. How significant is that?
I think it's very, very significant indeed. Obviously, in a case such as the Lucy Letby case, it's absolutely crucial that no stone is left unturned in investigating how this happened. So that is a minor positive deriving from such a terrible case.
the thing is, I suppose a lot of people are asking, why on earth would we need to have people being, required to give evidence under oath? Again, I don't know. Would we be dragging those people kicking and screaming to the inquiry? Shouldn't we, though? Why wouldn't you, if you're an NHS manager, why wouldn't you want to try to get to the bottom of what went wrong when a serial killer was left in a neonatal unit to kill babies again and again? Does that tell us something about what's going on?
Well, no, the fact that there's that element of compulsion in principle, and I stand by what I've said earlier, doesn't mean that people won't be prepared to do it. It's just a safeguard. But I have to say, Julia, I know we strongly disagree, but in any context, I just don't think the justice system in this country in 2023 should involve the spectre of violence being inflicted upon people in a courtroom. That's my view.
OK, we'll leave it there. Jeremy Dein KC, thank you so much for your point of view.